Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here. Today we're going to be reviewing Revelations of the Daleks. This is not the first time I've seen Revelations of the Daleks, but it is the first time I've seen it in a while, probably about 12, 13, 14 years. It was very vague in my head going into it, as I mentioned in my part 1 video. Overall, I like it, but it's clunky. The broad strokes of it are good, but the details, when you start getting into the details, some of it doesn't make sense. So much of it's unnecessary. Like, I think this could have been a good modern Doctor Who story in the modern Doctor Who format of being one episode at 45 minutes. It actually could have worked. I think there's too much cluttering it up. First off, that DJ is terrible. I get that Alexei, I think is his name. He was a comedian. He really hams it up in this role, and I can't stand him. I went on about that in my part 1 review. And anytime it switches to him, it pulls me out of the story. Especially when he's talking to the camera like this, and he's doing all these different voices and costumes. And I'm like, why is this person here? Why has Davros not killed him already? Why is he letting him live? It makes no sense. You could take this character completely out of the story, and it changes nothing, except making the story a lot better. And then there's when he dies, which is great. I love the part where he dies, but it's dumb how he dies. Like, he blows up one Dalek with sound, and then he blows up another Dalek with sound, and then he gets up like he thinks there's only going to be 2, and he's, well, we took care of that, and then he gets shot by another Dalek and dies. And boy, does he die. A lot of people die really classic Who-y in this episode where, ooh, I don't want to hurt myself. Let me ease down here. And they die in that very classic Who style that looks very pantomimish. Well, stereotypical classic Who style, let's say. Classic Who-y, classic-y Who-y style, let's say. And here's another one. I'm like, man, I like when the character dies, but even his death is dumb. And then, for some reason, when he's on camera, the camera goes into this soft focus, hazy look that even Perry has when she's in the room with him. There are parts of this story that are phenomenal. The broad stroke of the story I like. Davros masquerading as this healer, manipulating people to coming here because they want to try to cheat death, or they come here when they die, or they're cryogenically frozen, or whatever. And he uses that to either make more Daleks or to create food to feed the galaxy, which is how he makes his money. Clever idea. Love the broad strokes. It's nice. It's dark. It's Eric Sayward dark, and I like that. Doctor Who can be dark when done correctly. Season 13 can prove that. So I enjoy that part of the story. And then having, was it Eleanor Braun playing the one woman? I'm pretty sure she's the one from City of Death in the cameo with John Cleese. I'm not 100% certain, but I'd swear that looks like her to me. So I like her playing the character she's playing, and how she doesn't trust Davros. Davros doesn't trust her. Villains ready to stab each other in the back. I enjoy that. I enjoy everything with the assassin she hires, the Knight of the Caliganus Order or whatever, and his little squire. I like both of the actors playing them. I think their characters are well written. I like everything going on with them. But the other part of the story with, like, what is his name? Clive Swift. With Clive Swift, his character, all of that seems unnecessary, can be cut out. It's interesting because I mentioned in part 1 that Clive Swift's character just struck me, the guy who's basically the funeral director, let's say, struck me as, I'm like, because he takes his work so seriously and seems so emotionless in part 1, I was like, this is a guy that never gets laid and never thinks about getting laid. And then, like, 3 seconds into part 2, he's, like, creeping on Perry. Like, 3 seconds in, and he's going, oh, hello, Clarice, to her. And you can just picture Anthony Hopkins with a British accent talk, which I guess would just be Anthony Hopkins, now that I think about it. And then you find out he's actually a womanizer, and I'm like, okay, I didn't pick that up from part 1 at all. Suddenly he's a womanizer. Okay, but he does creep on Perry really bad in this story. But that whole thing with him and with the nurse that likes him and how he refuses her, and all of that, it seems like padding, just unnecessary padding. It goes nowhere. And then that part when she kills him with the needle, I'm like, dude, how do you not see that coming? If I walk in a door and I see a woman that asks me how my day's going, I'm immediately suspicious. So, how was your day today, sweetheart? All right, is this a trap? Is it a trap? I'm just kidding. But still, I mean, if she's sitting there going, I don't trust you, holding a needle in her hand, and she's, before she stabs you, maybe you should be like, instead of being, go back to your work, you should be like, maybe there's a slight sense of danger here. You don't need a spider sense to know, maybe I should back up a little bit. Maybe I should leave, you know. I'm not saying he should try to put his hands on her, because of course he would be the one that gets in trouble. That's how things work. But, he should have gotten out of there. I don't think I would have stood there and just let her, especially since she had the thing up for a couple seconds before she stabbed him. I think, yeah, that whole part's just dumb. And then she immediately gets exterminated by the Daleks. So they dedicate scenes to her talking with Davros, and Davros trying to manipulate her just for the Daleks to be like, you'll be exterminated. I'm like, it's a waste of time. Both of those things, the DJ stuff and the stuff with Clive's character, are just a waste of time. And I like Clive. I believe he played in Voyage of the Damned, if I remember correctly. I think with David Tennant. I think he's the one that plays the guy on the Titanic that gives the tours, the one that survives at the end, and he finds out how much money he's. I got money. I'm rich. And I liked his character in Voyage of the Damned a lot, so I've kind of liked him as an actor. I didn't realize that was him when I was watching part 1. That's why I didn't mention it in the review. What until right at the beginning of part 2, right outside when he's creeping on Perry and the doctor comes out of the little thing that fell on him. And I was looking at it, I'm like, I know him. And then it clicked in my head, right, he played in Voyage of the Damned. I'm pretty sure that's him. And he's pretty famous for being in another British show. I can't remember if it's like Keeping Up Appearances or... There is a famous British show that he's in, that he's mainly known for being in. I can't remember what it is. But it's cool. I always like when classic Who actors get brought into modern Who. And if you don't know, you don't know. But if you do know, you do know. And a lot of them I found out afterwards. Like, I'll find out, oh, did you know that actor in this episode was also in this episode of Classic Who? And I'll be like, oh, cool. I love when they do that. So this is another moment of that. Of me going, oh, hey, he was also in Classic Who. I like that. Cool. I like the final confrontation with Davros, everything that goes on there with the assassin and the other guy attacking and killing the decoy. I do like the fact that turned out to be a decoy. It's clever because we didn't know how badly Davros had been banged up by the little virus and stuff in Resurrection. So it's clever to make us think it was only his head left, but it was a great diversion when, you know, old school Davros rolls in. Terry Malloy's always a good Davros. When he rolls in, and I like the effect of the electricity. I did watch it with the updated effects. I've seen it with the original effects too. Because I watched the Behind the Sofa, of course, right afterwards. I love Behind the Sofa, which uses the original effects. And I like both. Even the original effects, I thought, for Davros's blast with his finger in his eyes are really good, but I really like the enhanced effects, which are actually carried over from the original DVD release from several years ago. But I'm glad they ported those over to the Blu-ray as well. I enjoyed that. I really like the guy who was playing the assassin. I like when he stabs, was it Eleanor Braun, Eva Braun, whatever her name is, and he pulls out that little blade, and he's like, that was pretty cool. It was nice seeing the scene when Davros gets his hand blown up by his squire, because, you know, in the modern show, Davros always has the metal hand, because he lost it in this one. It was cool seeing that again. I like the fact that the old school Daleks didn't recognize the Doctor, whereas Davros and his Daleks, I guess the Imperial Daleks, know that the Doctor currently looks like Colin Baker's Doctor. The old Daleks still think it's like Peter Davison's Doctor. They don't realize he's regenerated. I like that they kept that in there. It was kind of neat seeing this Dalek Civil War going on here. Kind of seeing the start of that, which we'd see more of in Remembrance. So I enjoyed that. The incidental music's really good in this one. I actually really, really enjoyed the incidental music in this. I mentioned a lot of that in part 1, but like the scene when the mutant attacks the Doctor at the beginning has some really good music. There's some scenes when Natasha and the Doctor are running down corridors in part 1 where there's some really good music. I really enjoyed that. The glass Dalek scene when Natasha, I think that's her name, Natasha, and the Doctor, I keep saying the Doctor, but he's not the Doctor, the medical doctor, find her father. That whole scene with the glass Dalek, that is wonderful. That's one of the highlights of the episode. First off, the actual script there is phenomenal. That whole bit is really well done. Secondly, the makeup design of the guy changing into the Dalek, her dad changing into the Dalek, is pulled off wonderful. That's really impressive for a Classic Who budget. And even in general, that looks better than some of the stuff in the modern show. And watching him, as his voice changes from human to Dalek, and how his mind goes from human to Dalek to the point where he's just like, kill me, kill me. That's such a good scene, which, of course, it cuts to a DJ scene right after that, and that's disappointing and unfortunate. Another thing is this is directed by Graham Harper, and I think that's one of the reasons I like it so much, because most of my flaws with the story are the script. I mean, the script is really strong in places. It's just too long. It really needed to be like a 45 or 50-minute story. But the good parts of the script are really good. It's just the bad parts of the script are really bad. But the execution of the story is good for the most part. I don't, again, like the little glossy haze over the DJ scenes. But the use of lighting and camera work. I love Graham Harper. He's one of my favorite directors. When it comes to directing Doctor Who, he's one of the best. And he's the only director to direct Classic Who and Modern Who. And he's also the same guy who did the Caves of Androzani. He does a lot of really good stuff with lighting and the lack of lighting. He uses darkness very effectively. And I love what he does with his camera work. So when I noticed Graham Harper directed it, I was sitting there going, this is probably one of the reasons why I like the story as much as I do. It's not as good as Resurrection for me, again, because the story does drag in places. Resurrection's easily my favorite of the 3 Dalek stories. I'd have to watch Remembrance again to really decide which one I like better between Remembrance and Revelations. I haven't seen Remembrance in a long time. I think I actually added it to my Amazon wish list recently because I don't know when we'll get season 25 because I haven't seen it in a long time. But Revelations, I like it. It's just, you have some of those stories that they're just mediocre throughout. It's kind of like, I used to use Destiny of the Daleks as the example, but Destiny actually is a really fun watch. So that's not really fair. But, you're just that story that's kind of a 5 the whole way through. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 5. This story is different. Like, it has scenes that are like 9 out of 10s, 10 out of 10s, but then it has scenes that are like negative 37 out of 10s. They're just so bad. Anything involving the DJ is bad, and pretty much anything involving Clive Swift's character is bad. Because it doesn't need to be there. But most of the other stuff I really like. So yeah, Revelations of the Daleks. I enjoyed most of it. I guess about half of it, 2/3 of it. I want to know what you think of it. So comment down below and let me know. Other things to do, click the like button and the subscribe button and the bell for notifications. That helps me out. Helps me grow the channel. I really appreciate that. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me that way. There's a link to that down in the description below. I want to give a shout out to 2 of my top tier patrons, Stephen Crane and the 5th Doctor. I appreciate their continued support. I also have an Amazon wish list if you would like to purchase anything on that. There's a link to that in the description below. And my P.O. box is down there as well if there's anything you would like to send me. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.